home mead makers, judges, stewards, other volunteers, the meaderies themselves, and the people that come to cover this from the press and from folks like Meadology, and we had meadmaker.com there and meaddrinker.com there, Tyson and
Alan.
We want to make Alan, excuse me, sorry about that, Alan. We want to make sure that the people that get there, number one and most importantly, get the idea of what the Mazer Cup is and what we're all about, and number two, have a great time doing it. And so we want judges and table stewards and captains, table captains, and our judge directors, our competition directors. We want to have just as good a time as they have, and we want everybody across the board to have a good time. And so we want to make sure that everybody that's involved, understands that and is willing to put, their thoughts and ideas of what they want to do, kind of on the back burner in favor of what the Mazer Cup International is trying to do, and that is to, bring the best judging standards we can to the meads that are submitted, and make sure that the best meads that are out there get awarded, and make sure that there's a consistently high standard for meads submitted, so that we will continue to experience that improvement across the board by all of the submissions. And I can guarantee you this year that was definitely the case.
Cool. Some of the listeners are saying that you're kind of quiet and they're having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if your volume's down.
Now my volume's where it was when we started talking. How's that?
Yeah. Maybe I think you're just talking quietly. Okay. So, I think a lot of people also want to know, what's it like judging at the Mazer Cup? I mean, you judged every year. I've judged every year since this thing started. So.
Well, it's kind of like a sitting down at a table, and as they bring the meads out, we switched to queued judging a few years ago. Instead of having a flight sheet where each judging panel is presented with a flight sheet, and there's, let's say, 8 meads that are going to be judged in that flight, and then the head judge table figures out the order that they want them to be pulled in, and then they call for them either one at a time or have them all brought out at once. What we do now is, because our categories are so big now, we go ahead and we take several judging panels on some of our larger categories. Let's say we have 50 entries into the fruit mead or melomel category, and we'll take several judging panels, and we do, when the judging panels are ready, they just put a card up in the air, and the stewards go back and they pull the first mead on the list and take it to the first table that's out there, and they continue to do so. So we may have 4 panels working on the same category, so that means 4 different entries are being judged at the same time in that category. And as they call for the second one, so in 2 rounds we've done, instead of just like 1 mead at a time per flight, we've done 4 meads, 8 meads in 2 quick rounds. And so we get through categories very quickly that way, and it really cuts down on the palate fatigue and the number of meads the judges actually have to go through, because the judges that work together and are faster than other judging panels will go at their own speed without being hampered by somebody on that judging panel that's slower, and vice versa. If somebody is on a slower judging panel, they can work at their own speed, at their own comfort level, without having to worry about keeping up with other judging panels. This way, the faster panels go through a little bit more quickly, and the slower panels proceed at their own pace, and everybody's happy because they're not being either held back or asked to speed up. They all work at their own speed, where they're comfortable, and it works out really, really well.
Cool.
So when you hold up the card, that lets one of the stewards know that they need to take your panel number and go back and pull the next mead on that sheet, and they take the information. They go back to the sorting room and to the pouring room, and they submit that card to one of the stewards there, who then goes out and finds the next entry they pull that entry and they go ahead and pour it. They put the numbers on the glasses because the judges never see the bottle. All they see is a glass with a number on it, so there's no way they know what it is they're judging. And it comes out to the table. It has the information about the mead. This is a traditional mead made from wildflower honey, and they write that down. It's still, it's sweet, and it's a standard strength instead of hydromel or sack. And they write all that information down, and then they start judging. The first thing they look at is the aroma. You know, does it present the honey well? Is there fruit flavor that's apparent, or fruit aroma apparent in the nose? Is there flower? Is there other things? Are there off characters? Are there special things in there that people, you know, wouldn't normally see? And then they go to the appearance. Is it clear? Is it cloudy? Is it hazy? Is it turbid? Is it brilliant? Is it gem-like? And move on to the flavor and the mouthfeel. How well is it balanced? Is it structured? Does there have an integration of all the flavors there? Is it complex? Does that finish linger and present other flavors as it moves across the palate and as it develops after you've swallowed or spit? And we, of course, really encourage our judges to expectorate, because after 2 or 3 good, strong meads, you're going to start feeling the effects of the alcohol. And so you're not going to be giving out really good scores. So, you know, we have spit cups and dump buckets on the table there for everybody to go ahead so they can swirl and spit and write down remarks. And so, you know, you move through each mead that way, and you can keep the glasses on the table, or you can have the the stewards take them back so you can keep the table clear. It's just up to the judge style, and you know, we see people doing both. So I think everybody's very comfortable with that. If they want to keep the glasses on the table, they can. If they want to have them go away, they can. It's, you know, just fine either way, and that's really up to the judge or the head judge on the table, depending on how you want to do it.
Well, and you learn the hard way too. My first year, I did not spit.
You got hammered, didn't you?
Oh, first set was fortified meads. It was not pretty, not at all.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Pete.
It's funny because yes,
we get a lot of questions about show meads. What's the MCI feedback on that?
Well, we don't have a category for show mead. We have traditional and varietal.
Okay.
So show mead can mean a lot of different things depending on who you're talking to. And I think somewhere along the way, traditional got kind of morphed around into, you know, just a straight traditional mead, meaning a straight mead made with honey, water, and yeast, and nothing else. No, like additions of oak or mint or anything like that. But actual traditional mead from any different country can mean a number of different things, because, you know, traditionally mead made in Europe and in different places would have any number of herbs or spices added to it depending on the time of year and what was available at hand. So traditional, I don't think means just honey, water, and yeast to a lot of people, but for our purposes, if somebody's submitting a traditional mead, it's going to be honey, yeast, and water mostly, you know, with whatever you need to add to it in order to keep nutrients and in order to keep the nitrogen level up so you can complete the fermentation. You know, again, another one of those somewhere along the way, show mead started picking up the meaning of being just water, yeast, and honey, nothing else added. Again, we don't have a category for that. Our analogous category there would be varietal. So that would mean that's just all orange blossom honey, or just all mesquite honey, or just all macadamia nut honey. And so now with show mead, there's this whole thing about not adding any nutrients to it, and you know, I don't see that being a realistic thing to do in many cases, because without that supplemental nutrient being added, it's, you know, you're going to have problems with keeping the fermentation strong. And no adjustments to it for pH the same way. If your mead drops very, very, you know, high in acidity, you're going to have some issues with keeping the fermentation going, as well as if you run out of nitrogen, you're going to pick up reductive aromas and reductive flavors and, risk of stalled meads. So everybody has their own little hobby horse as far as, nutrient additions. Everybody has their fancy little names for it and their little ways of, like I only use this kind of supplement, or I only use this kind of nutrient, or I only use this kind of nutrient, and I have this calculation in order to make sure that I'm adding enough to make sure to get the right nitrogen level. But the thing is, I've seen a lot of scientific studies in the wine world where late additions, timed additions, and all that don't really matter as much as early additions. And you can go out there and look in the enology, the Journal of Enology and Viticulture, and see these kind of studies done over and over and over again. So the timing of nutrient additions and all that, I think with mead will be slightly different than in wine. But, in a couple of studies that I have seen on mead, it seems to follow the same kind of course. Maybe not parallel, but somewhat close.
Sorry, I had muted to keep down background noise. What tips can you offer folks? I mean, I saw a lot of people on forums and in the groups and that were saying, well, I don't know if I'm ready to enter my mead. How do I know?
Well, that's really easy. When you say, I don't really know if I'm ready, you've just answered your own question. If you're looking for answers to things that you don't know, then enter it, because the judges will tell you what's right or what's wrong with it and how to fix them. So if you're asking yourself, well, I don't really know if I'm ready, I don't know if I'm making good mead or bad mead, you've just answered your own question. Submit it, the judges will know. They'll tell you. And, they'll tell you in a nice way. That's one of the other things we're very conscious of, is if someone's taking the time to spend their own money to buy honey, to buy the yeast, to buy the nutrients, to buy the equipment to ferment it in, to spend the time and to buy the bottles and the capper and to cap the bottles or cork the bottles and send them to us, last thing in the world we want to go is, this is awful, you got to do this, and this. Because that person is never going to want to submit it to a show again for judging. So we're very conscious of saying, hey, okay, there's a couple of things here that can be changed in order to improve, and here's what they are. Take a look at your temperature when you're fermenting. Take a look at making sure to supplement those nutrients as the ferment proceeds. Take a look at your bottling. Take a look at your sanitation. All of these things factor into making really great mead. And if you have all of those things and you're following a recipe and you're bearing in mind all of the things that need to happen in order to make a really great mead, then you're going to have a lot better chance of making a great mead than absent any input from people who aren't you and aren't your friends, who want to be polite to you and say, hey, this is really good. And when you look the other way, they dump it out.
Sorry, muted again. Excuse me. So, yeah, I like that, because there's a lot of people who are very hesitant. I mean, my first mead when I entered it was not good. But I sent it into the original Mazer Cup, the one Ken was running way back when, knowing that it wasn't good enough, but wanting to know what wasn't working and how could I fix it.
And that's a really great reason to enter a contest, to find out the things. Or if you've got a recipe that you think is really good and you've gotten really good comments, really good honest comments back from your friend, but you feel if there's something missing or something that can be improved, that's another really great reason to submit to a contest or a competition like the Mazer Cup, because you're going to have the greatest collection of mead minds out there, and it's going to get in front of judges who are going to be able to find those things in that mead that are either lacking or are there in overabundance, and tell you how to throttle back or how to bring them up. And again, that goes down to people who know mead and people who are enthusiastic about it being willing to sit down and go through 10, 20 meads in a day each, and to give good feedback that resonates with the person that was making the mead and looking for suggestions.
Okay. We've actually got Brandon from Malta on Skype, and he is asking,